Good afternoon, everyone. Today I'm joined by Graham Potts, who's our Managing Director here at Wessex Commercial for the next in our Grow Your Business with Graham series. We're going to take questions as we go, so if you can pop those in the comments on LinkedIn and we'll pick those up. But Graham, this is the second of 3 sessions on exit strategy. We're thinking about getting businesses into the best possible shape, but also becoming more resilient, and which is obviously relevant to today's economic uncertainty. So what are we going to start with today, Graham?
Well, we went through the business health check last time. So now it's more about a focus and creating a plan to grow, and then putting that plan into action. And with that growth, you've got to talk about, we've got to think about de-risk as well. You want to sort of, it's growing, but you don't want to create more issues as you go through. So it's basically growing with the end in mind, so that you actually give yourself what you're after, your desires, whether money, whatever it is going forward. It's about building a financially resilient business, and that's whether you're going to be selling to a trade buyer, whether you want to pass to family, management buyout, one of the new ESOPs, to employees or whatever, or even it's actually very good for any business, like if to get through a recession, because all these things, whether you're in trouble, whether you're okay, whether you want to grow fast, often a lot of these ideas are the same. So just putting them into action is key.
Yeah, that makes sense. So if people are planning to grow and exit, what elements should their plan cover?
Well, I always say you obviously start with, where does everything start? It's with customers. It's starting with marketing and sales. You've got to look at the customer journey. You've got to make it easy to buy. You've got to make it so that customers, are actually fans. They recommend you, and so they keep on coming back. So there's very high levels of satisfaction. But you also need to make sure you've got a regular pipeline, a growing pipeline if you want to grow, a growing pipeline of leads, and actually looking at how you convert those leads. Is your conversion ratio high enough? And how you can drive that sales and profitability. So marketing sales is definitely number one, but you've also got other things. You've got to look at your people strategy, how you recruit, retain, develop, how you remunerate, can't say that word, your staff, your team, because who's key to your business? And, are you, for instance, are you going to offer them, share options, or is it bonus scheme, or what motivates them, and what can you get them so they stay with your business? Because changing people often creates problems, because they know the business so well. They actually, sort of helping you drive that business forward, and new people coming in take time to understand the business. Then that leads on to company structure. What are you doing? Are you selling part of the business or the business? Making sure that what's in that business is there. I've seen times where I've seen well, hang on a minute, you're using that in the business, but it's not, part of the company. It's owned by someone else, or there's things in the company, maybe property, that you want to take out. So get the structure right. And last but not least, finance. Make sure you've got enough money to grow, or know where you can get it.
Sure. And one of the biggest challenges for businesses must be finance. So if you're going through that, if you're planning to sell, if you're growing with a view to sell your business, what is it that you're looking for in terms of finance?
Well, you need financial strength. Often, if you grow too fast, you could be very profitable, but you've got no cash. And businesses fail if they run out of cash. They don't fail if they've got cash. So you need financial strength. You need to be able to make sure you've got the finance behind, or it's self-generating. Cash is self-generating in the business. So you're strong, sustainable, resilient. So the big thing that people miss out, don't understand, and I've seen it so many times with business owners, because they haven't been trained in accounts. They don't understand the balance sheet. They don't understand working capital.
Yep.
And you need sufficient working capital to fund growth.
Sure.
Working capital is your current assets less your current liabilities. So like it's current assets, it's your stock. You've got to finance your stock. It's if you're giving credit to customers. That's what they call major receivables, trade debtors. You've got to be able to finance that. In construction, is often retention. Against that, you've then got, sort of your trade creditors and that. But often there's a gap, and that gap is where you need to have money. And you need to work out, sort of how you're going to grow as you grow, what working capital you need. Because when we come to the end of it and they get to a buyer will look at getting their money back as quick as possible. And often when they look at it, and I've been this when I've been in corporate, they also look at your cash position. Yes. And if you've got surplus cash, they add it to the price. If you've got massive loans, they take it off the price. So your cash is part of this as well. Yeah,
that makes sense. So what should owners do if it's obviously from the buyer's perspective what they're looking for, but what should owners do if they need funding in the meantime?
Well, it's always, you've got to look at, you've got to look at your interest rates, what's available. You've got to have good, and lenders look at the management. So the first thing they do, they look at, they talk to you and that, but they look at, all the social media, all the website, all the presence, they look at everything. But one of the big things they look at, it was always, how good's the management? Can you repay the loans? And have you got security? Now, part of good management, and it's all about perception. If you've got good financial information, that ticks a massive box with lenders.
Shows that you're in control, doesn't it?
It shows you're in control. You understand, because look at, we always go back to Dragon's Den. Do you know your numbers? And if you do, and you can explain where you're going and what's happened and why you need the money, and you've got, plans in place, like future cash flows, profit and loss forecasts, they will be more willing to lend to you, and you'll get a better rate.
Yeah.
Second thing is obviously they look at, and that cash flow will show that you can repay the loans that you're looking for.
Yeah.
But also look at security, because when you're smaller and you're growing, basically you might be looking for things. Well, they got, if you're buying a property, they got, the asset is, but they won't give you 100% of it. Yeah. If they're looking at debtors, they might take a debenture on the company, but they won't give you all of it. So look at what you've got to fund as well. And get someone to help you to understand all this, and understand if you have to give a personal guarantee, what that really means to you, and can you limit it? Can you make it as a, I see so many times when business owners give a guarantee, like, if they say a trade supplier, and that trade supplier, when they give the guarantees 5,000, what happens when they've grown massively and they've sold the business and the supplier is now given 100,000 credit? You've still got a guarantee. So understand your guarantees. And last but not least on this, I would say match long-term assets with long-term borrowing, and short-term assets with short-term borrowing. So
can you give us an example of that, Graham? What does that mean in practice?
Okay, let's have a look. Keeping it sort of thinking simply, like if you buy a house, you get a mortgage, and that mortgage is often 25, 35 years, depends how young you are. As you get older, it'll be shorter.
Yep.
For me, but and if you buy a car, you often put it on HP or lease. Yeah. You are matching, you're borrowing the longer the longer the asset survives. So like a house is up here, car then next, then you say like got a stock. Sorry, the more you actually, the longer the term of the borrowing. Yeah. So property, mortgage. Car will be HP, lease, but when you get to stock and debtors, it's basically going to be something like bank overdraft or sort of like invoice discounting, using creditors, trade creditors' money as well. So you might slow down your payments, try and get 45 or 60 days, etc.
Yeah.
So basically, you're matching the length of how long you think that asset's there with the borrowing. Now you must get your house in order as well. If you're losing money, it's much harder to borrow.
Yes.
So you've got to show that you can return to profits. Another thing I would say is, like, if you are giving credit, so many times I see the credit control not that good. Make sure it's easy. Make sure your invoicing is absolutely right. You know where the invoice is going. It's going to the right place. You know that they're going to, you've got good suppliers. Good customers. Make sure you do regular checks on them. Don't think it's normal to give 60, 90, 100 day, 120 day credit. It's not. Take advice. Sort of that it's not normal. Is it because they're struggling, or is it something you have to give? And if you have to give, then you might get finance against it.
Yeah.
So always regulate your credit control. Keep control of that. That is vital. Again, cash is absolute king. And also make sure all your other assets, stock, you haven't got slow moving stock. You haven't got, you're using all your property. Are you maximizing the use of all your assets, your equipment, etc.
Okay, so that's the financial perspective. So if we're growing a business with a sale in mind, is there anything specific to take into account, to put into that plan, Graham?
Well, first of all, which is probably the hardest thing to do, put yourself in the buyer's position, not your position.
Yeah.
They don't know what's gone on in the last 5, 10, 20 years, whatever it is. They actually don't really always care. It just really, all they're caring about is what happens going forward.
Yep.
So understand what's good. What do they want? What do they really want from you? What could you offer that will put your price up? So, for instance, your customer base, if you've got a very good customer base that you could use for their products or services. For example, when I was in corporate, I was in FD of a finance director of a scaffolding company. We basically sold to a business that had painting and cleaning services. So they could actually bring the painting and cleaning and scaffolding to a one-stop shop. They wanted our management. They wanted our customer base. They wanted services. They wanted access to our clients, our customers, which is the dockyards. The buyers also may want your services for their customers. Like for this, they used our scaffolding for the oil field market, oil and gas market. So always look at, where you can, what's an additional add-on. They may want to take out a competitor. They may want to, take out a supplier, have a, sort of like a supply chain all the way through, so they control the whole side. They may be looking for a specific brand. Then you may have some sort of intellectual property that they could utilize and, basically expand upon and make money. Look at location. Like the motor trade, like Virtue in the southwest of England have been buying up, basically brands, companies like, BMW, Land Rover. They weren't allowed to take on everything, mind. But anyway, and then what about delivering, sustainable returns, for the company shareholders? Think about, if you're selling to a PLC. Now, people might have said, and we'll get onto this when we get to the final bit about the valuation and the profits. Is it on balance sheet, net assets, the valuation of profits, what sort of like a multiple of profits? If you're a small business and you've got a multiple, say, of 5, if you're in a PLC, you might have a multiple of 20, 30. You bring in, say, $500,000 profit into that company, suddenly their share price goes up, their options go up. Get into the mind of the buyer. And also make sure that everything looks good. It's all about perception. The more you look, it's really good. The first phone call, the online interaction, your presence on site for the buyer and customer, it all adds to the, this company's worth a lot of money. Yeah,
worth buying.
Worth buying.
Yeah. So how do we find those buyers, Graham?
I always I tell people, look at explore strategic partnerships and explore them early. If we've done the business health check and we're looking to sell in 3 to 5 years time, now is the time to think about who your buyer is, not when you want to sell and then you go and say, oh, who could we sell to? What sort of businesses are out there that have shared customer base, like-minded, someone you could collaborate with. Develop relationships. That when I was talking about when we were in corporate, that scaffolding company, it was over 18 months before we sold, we started working with them. We were a supplier.
Yep.
And then we developed relationships, and they were our number one target to sell. We knew we wanted to sell, and they were the number one, but we put it out to the market, and eventually they did sell because they're emotionally connected, because they'd seen and worked with us.
Yeah.
Think about these relationships. They take time to build. So think about working with anybody, whether it's a collaboration, a joint venture, it's a customer, a supplier. Think about them, and think about working with them. You don't need to tell them your plan.
Yes.
Get to know them, trade with them, joint venture with them, build emotional connection. Let them come to the conclusion they want to buy you, without you really telling them directly. You may have to give a hint and say, no, not really, but just create it, or maybe in the future, but don't go and say, I want to sell to you.
Yeah.
But develop those relationships. That's where you get the value.
Yes.
People buy emotionally. Then they justify it with the head.
Yep, that's it, absolutely. And once you've got that growth plan, Graham, what's next?
Well, you have to monitor your progress and adapt and change. You need regular profit and loss, cash flow forecasts, see where you are. You need the up-to-date management information. As you're growing, if we're talking about big, we're talking about businesses that are in the million, a few million, growing up and that, beyond that, you need regular monthly information then, profit and loss, sort of balance sheets, key performance indicators, see what's driving your business, what's making the money. So you need really very good, decent, regular financial information and forecasting.
It's not an annual activity, is it?
Sorry?
It's not an annual activity.
It's not annual. No, it's now. After you can only affect your company now. You can't fund you can't affect it later. You put the plan in place and then you monitor, and then you can see and tweak it. Business is all about tweaks, growth and profits. It's all about little bits here and there. Make sure, sort of like you are growing, sort of your cash and profits, probably your sales as well. But sometimes, it's margin. So to remember margin. If you can increase margins, you may not have to increase sales so much. Look at opportunities to increase these margins. Is there a different market for your product or service that actually you could just put it in there and actually you'd be in a bit of a niche. Develop relationships with potential buyers.
Yep, that sounds good. So how would you summarize that, Graham, for people who are who business owners who are planning to grow and then exit their business?
Well, think about growth. Like I said, number one, think about growth from your buyer's perspective. Think about what they want, and that they want to recover their money quickly. Or, like I said, that bit about the PLC, do they want to increase their share price? They could be, try and understand what they want. Make sure so you have to prioritize not only profits but cash. The other thing another thing they want, is that they want the business, and if you're wanting to exit, you need that business running smoothly without you. So you need to be, by the time you get to sell, you need to be on the business, not basically in the business.
Replaceable.
Because if you're in the business, not only then it's harder to exit out. The other thing is, when you get into the buying process, which we'll go through next time, you'll get so bogged down with that, your business could suffer. So it takes time to sell. So make sure you're on the business. As I said, the buyer wants to know that they can make their returns when you're not there. So plan with that in mind. And with that plan, focus on the opportunities which make commercial sense, and actually think about the types of buyers and whether the sort of types of product services you're doing, the type of customers, the markets actually will appeal to them. Look at minimizing risk, robust management structure. You've got to make sure you've got the right people in the right place. Reliable systems and processes. So as a small business, as they grow, they've got to put these in. They can be simple as possible, but they've got to be in there, because otherwise you find that businesses tend to be recreating the wheel all the time. And this is especially true, a word of warning with the accounts team. Do you trust the information that they give you? I have seen so many times when I'm going in, looking at potential finance director work, and the reason is they don't trust the management information they're getting. And that may be because they realize the accountant in place or this office manager is not good enough. But often they've got people that are qualified with different levels of qualification that actually do not feel the business, don't really understand the balance sheet. They do not understand things where, like, you know, working in public sector where you may get money in advance, milestone payments. So if you feel it's wrong, you need to get help and have a look to understand whether these people is just that it's a training issue, do they need supporting, or actually is the business outgrown them? Because that happens often. And you may need new personnel. Like I said, I've seen it so many times where the information that's actually coming through is like, it's worthless.
Yep.
So what's the point in having it?
Yep.
You need to make sure that you understand that information coming through to you actually, all right, it's never 100% right, but it's pretty much there. It's something you can rely on to make informed decisions. And that, you know, or, you know, sometimes, like I said, the team or the person, actually, it's just like they just need the processes put in. They need strategy, you know, because you've got different types of accountants, people that look back and like anything in life, and people look forward.
Yeah,
they're not always the same. You know, you've got to have people that can do both. So you need strategic people in that finance team to help you through this stage.
Yeah, absolutely. And be preparing that information with that sale in mind as well.
Yeah, it's having someone, and if you don't have someone outsourced that's doing it, you know, that helps you, that they don't know. So if you don't feel you can trust your accountant with that sort of information, you know, and especially if you don't trust them, like with payroll and things like that, then, you know, you need to get some help to help get through that process, like I said.
Definitely. So if growing your business is on your agenda, if you're thinking about de-risking, potentially selling your business, and want to have a conversation with Graham about some of the things that we've talked about today, pop us an email to chatwithgraham@wessexcommercial.com and we'll set that up for you. So next time is part 3 of Get Exit Ready. And apologies, I think I've got the wrong
one there
on the screen. So we're going to be focusing on selling your business. So this time will be the practicalities of getting your business ready for sale and going through that sale process of the steps that will be involved. So apologies for the name, but
it will actually take you through when you actually are going through, I want to sell, I'm putting it on the market soon, and actually going through the whole process of the legals, the accountancy, the due diligence, and everything else.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll look forward to joining you, or for you joining me again, Graham, and hopefully others joining us on Monday, the 6th of November at 12:30 p.m. So
you can tell it's live.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks. Bye.